Cầm xuống mau. Rồi nha. Mau. Giang ra. Em.
Only on FanDuel, DraftKings,
MGM,
Prize Picks,
Underdog,
Hard Rock Bet,
Sally Bet,
PointsBet,
ESPN Bet,
365.
Smack me in the mouth with all of
Imagine
A podcast.
where time drifts slowly,
A podcast.
Where
Isaac
carries you away.
So let me be clear. We tortured some folks.
If you don't like what we tell you to believe in, we'll kill you.
Do you want to bet on it? Hey, hi, hello, it's Isaac. You're listening to Coexist Inc. I hate gambling. Even when I win, I feel like I've lost somehow. It all feels so dirty. I remember one time I was playing at some dog track. It was a poker table, and it was a $2 high bet, so very, very low stakes. And I won. I beat everyone at the table pretty soundly, but 3 of the people whose money I took also wheeled around oxygen tanks with them. I think what I don't like about gambling is there has to be a loser. We can't all win. I know, hippy dippy woo woo, love and peace bullshit, whatever, but that's what I believe in. But even if you like winning and taking other people's money, I don't think anyone would dispute that the gamblification of America, the inundation of Polymarket and Kalshi and DraftKings and BetMGM and dog fart shit coin, whatever the fuck, I mean, even crypto, all this stuff, I think we can all agree it's really, really, really bad. And nobody really likes it. No one would argue that this is good for society, but everyone will say, hey, if it's got to be somebody, it should be me. If I can't beat them, join them. If I can't beat this system, I might as well play it to the best of my abilities and see if I can get by. That's a bad mentality. That is a mentality of annihilation. Logically, the end point is just destruction. So, to talk about the gambling epidemic in America and how it's quite close to the opioid epidemic that we experienced and are still experiencing, I'm joined by Jasper Craven. His story for Harper's about sports gambling in America, where he visits the heart of darkness, Las Vegas, was just given the cover for Harper's magazine, so congrats, Jasper. And we talk about his experience personally with gambling and gambling in America as a whole. I just feel like money ruins everything, I guess, is the synthesis of my thesis here when it comes to gambling. Money ruins everything, even if it's the thing you love to do the most. Once you start getting paid for it, it spoils the entire thing. So please help me spoil my podcast, and if you can, $5 a month.
For guys like me, Las Vegas washes away your sins. It's like a morality car wash. It does for us what Lourdes does for humpbacks and cripples. And along with making us legit comes cash. Tons of it. I mean, what do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's all this money. This is the end result of all the bright lights and the comp trips, of all the champagne and free hotel suites, and all the broads and all the booze. It's all been arranged just for us to get your money. That's the truth about Las Vegas. We're the only winners. The players don't stand a chance.
Yeah, addicts have the potential to be great men and women of history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I'm not going to amount to anything, because I don't have an addictive personality. It's a real shame. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
I think the Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. I mean, that's kind of my hope. People are also confused why I'm not a big Patriots fan, because I grew up in New England. I mean, and my answer is just all of the obvious reasons, just that they're a smug, cheating, fucked up franchise run by a asshole Zionist who likes tug jobs, and it's also just fun to root for the.
He's a hand job sommelier, okay? I'd like to imagine him, the fact that he had to go to some random ass Asian massage parlor in Miami makes me feel like was he like the Anthony Bourdain of hand jobs, just like traveling to like hole in the wall joints?
Yeah, right. Just that have a good reputation. Just the magic finger ladies of the middle class.
It must have been a really good hand job. Like I have to. That's the only way I can make sense of it. Are you betting on this Super Bowl?
It's a good question. I probably will. I've become a big Buffalo Bills fan. So I put some money on the Bills winning the Super Bowl a long time ago. And if it hit, I would have made a good bit of money. But now that they're out, I'm kind of just like bummed. And also, I just lost a bunch of money on the Bills
How much?
game against the Rams or the Broncos.
Broncos, yeah.
I lost like $500.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
What would you have won had they made it and won the Super Bowl?
I would have won like $1,000 off of like a couple $100.
My buddy bet $100 that the Patriots were going to win the Super Bowl before the season started, and he stands to win $1,000.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, and he also stands to win $30,000 if Jaylen Brown also wins MVP for the NBA. He put $50 down for this parlay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
He's a huge Boston fan. I think betting aligned with your already like your fan, who you're a fan of, I think is like an acceptable form of betting as opposed to like the weird minutia people bet on.
Yeah.
Because I personally can't bet. So congratulations on getting the cover of Harper's magazine. That was a dream of mine when I was a wee journalist in my 20s. So congrats, and also fuck you, as we are all very envious of each other's successes. But seriously, congrats.
Thank you.
Your story is about the sports betting era of America, which I think there's always been sports betting, but this is different somehow.
I think there are a number of forces that have sort of pushed us into this present moment. The most intangible or spiritual force is just, I think, like this growing desire to tap out of reality and just sort of like experience synthetic emotions and hopes through technology. Obviously, this isn't like a profound thought, and people talk about social media in this way all the time. But I think there's something slightly different. There's kind of like a unique economic angle to sports betting. I think there's just a sense that like everything is so rigged in, day-to-day American economics, in the job market, in the stock market. And so people are just like flocking to new channels where it feels like the stakes are more fair, even though generally they're not. Like crypto, I think, is one place where you see a lot of activity. There's obviously a bunch of people flocking to silver and gold right now. And then sports betting is sort of the other big one. Even though at the same time as people are like, placing all this money on games and sort of like trying feverishly to study the stats and gain an edge, there's also like, deep and growing conspiracies that everything is rigged and that, like the average bettor really isn't playing on a fair field. Plus the way that the lines are set and the way that the firms operate are just like unfair and give an edge to the house. That's always been the case. But so, I've sort of felt that way too. Like I resisted, like I like finally got pushed to start like an IRA a couple years ago. I was so skeptical of the stock market. It all felt completely rigged to me and just sort of the whims of rich assholes. And obviously like insider trading is rampant. And I was just like, and it's just inevitably the market crashes every like 8 to 10 years. And, the rich people manage to mitigate the losses, but the people who aren't locked in and who don't have like all the money to get the good advice do fine. So I was like, I wasn't about that. And I've tried to sort of keep a neutral relationship with money. Like I don't really give a fuck that much about money. I like have some of it but I'm also like down to sort of blow it and just have fun with it. Like I don't really believe in saving money though. I mean, that's kind of changing now, but like I don't know. And so my relationship with gambling is sort of like partially fueling that like recklessness of like whatever, this will like give me a thrill, this will make things more fun. If I lose money, fine. But at the same time, I think like I honestly think as I've started sports gambling, I have become a little bit more obsessed with money. And like, I mean, I'm not like day trading or anything like that, but I do like get this. There's sort of something within me now of like, oh, I could just like get a lot of money, and wouldn't that be fucking sick by doing through my own Jedi mind tricks?
Yeah, gambling addiction seems like the least romantic kind of addiction to me.
Explain.
Because, well, at least John Coltrane's heroin years, his best albums. Drugs and even like drunks, you know, there's something poetic about their life. There's something explicit about the death drive, and they sometimes produce beautiful things. I can't think of a gambler who ever made something beautiful.
I think that's a fair point. I think I agree with you. I mean, the other sort of weird thing, like, that helps explain this, my own sort of like burgeoning addiction or habit or whatever you want to call it, like, uh, weirdly enough, the Ocean's 11 franchise.
I was thinking about that reading your piece.
Yeah, well, and there was like a whole little side quest, an Ocean's 11 side quest in the piece that got cut, but Ocean's
Boo.
11 and Ocean's 12 both came out on my birthday, December 10th. So like both of those movies I saw on my birthday, like 13th and 15th birthday, and were like they remain two of my favorite movies. I mean, the whole franchise is great. And obviously that's not like a piece of art created by an addict or anything. And it's not a movie about gambling. It's a heist movie, but there is something there. I think the idea of like, just like, pulling the wool over the eyes of the like corrupt casino magnate is like very enticing, and just sort of like, figuring out a way to beat the house is like a very like sort of, Robin Hood-esque impulse that I really like. And that also I think drives my gambling. But there's nothing really romantic in it because it never happens. Like I went to the Bellagio, which is where the first film takes place, and I did put $100 on red while I was listening to the Ocean soundtrack in my
Which song?
the one where like Ruben is like talking about like bringing the team together. It's just like, that it's like kind of like scatty, and it's just like
Yeah. It's a great soundtrack. Great soundtrack.
And so I like really hyped myself up, and I felt so good when I won $100 on red. And so that was like the closest I got to the sort of feeling of like, populist revenge over the oligarchs or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's generally a pretty depressing realm.
Did you hear what Victor Wembanyama said about Vegas?
No.
Victor Wembanyama might be the hero we need. He might be our boy. I don't know if you saw him posing in front of Mao's mausoleum at Tiananmen Square.
No.
But he might be the man. But he was talking about how much he hates Vegas, how he calls it dystopic.
Your first experience with Vegas too. What did you think about the lights and the weather?
To me, it's probably on Earth is the closest thing to a dystopia. So I'm not the biggest fan of Vegas.
I agree.
You agree?
He literally said that. I don't think I've ever heard an NBA player say dystopia before. But he's talking shit. He's like, yeah, I don't like it there. I've only ever passed through Vegas in an airport, and of course they had slot machines in the terminals. But I've had zero fucking interest in ever going to Vegas. But you went to the belly of the beast to report on really ground zero for sports betting. Can you tell us what it was like?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of obsessed with Vegas, and maybe that's just because I like read Fear and Loathing in high school like everybody else while I was high, and it like permanently imprinted on my amygdala or something.
Best Vegas movie, I think. That and Casino, right? I mean, those are the two.
Casino's incredible. But yeah, so I was in Vegas for about a week, and I designed the week as best I could so that I would always have a live sports bet, at least one live sports bet. I just wanted like, it to just be like constantly in the back of my mind. And so I was basically the week was would culminate in me attending the home opener of the Las Vegas Raiders with a recovering sports addict, and then the next day, my final day in Vegas was to be spent at a clinic for recovering addicts. And you know, I mean, it was an intense time, and I will say that like my just the habit of constantly betting over that week definitely has accelerated. I mean, it just, you know, I think it's just like with any addiction, like exposure to it, it sort of just like digs these channels deeper in your mind. And since I've returned from Vegas, my betting has become worse, though I'm now kind of like hitting the brakes. I mean, I guess we'll see if I bet on the Super Bowl. But I think just like being in that world for so long solidified the habit in a potentially negative way. The one kind of interesting thing about how Vegas does sports gambling is it invites like tactile reality, like it invites betting in a real environment surrounded by others. You know, like most states, you just download the app on your phone, watch games alone in your living room, and just kind of like that's just sort of like the saddest addictive behavior. But in Vegas, you still have to go to an actual blood and guts casino to get a gambling app activated. So that's what I did. I went to a small casino on Fremont Street just after I touched down. And if you'll allow me, I met this attendant there who was helping me sign up for the app, and part of his comments to me are quoted in the Harper's piece, but the full soliloquy didn't make it in. But I think I was like, I hadn't been in Vegas for more than like 2 hours, and I just met this Caesars attendant who basically perfectly summed up the sort of addictive, dark nature of Vegas. And he said, Vegas is about habits. Can you handle the habits? Are you a gambler? Are you an alcoholic? Are you a drug addict? Are you a sex fiend? If you ain't none of them, you're going to make it in Vegas. But if you are one, you will find yourself in all four by the time you're done. They coincide. If you're a gambler, they're going to be passing you drinks, free drinks. Okay, so then now you're becoming an alcoholic while you're drinking. Then you'll have a nice lady come up to you and she's talking to you. You're going to end up fucking her. And she's going to have you storing coke to stay up all night so you can try to win again. You're turned out now. You're fucking up. You're not going to work now. You get caught up in this fire. The weak can't make it. We watch people go in and out, man. This was like completely like he just volunteered that to me.
It's like bragging.
Yeah, yeah. And he really like, he took pride in the fact that he like had, he's been in Vegas for 20 years and he like hasn't let.
It's like, dude, I'm strong enough.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn.
But yeah, I mean, really there is that darkness sort of around every corner in Vegas. And I mean, one of the big problems with sports gambling is that, and one of the things that I think is kind of positive about Vegas is it's harder to hide the habit in Vegas. Like you're just kind of out there embarrassing yourself, like just getting fucked up. Whereas if you're just on an app, you can just it's easier to like move money around and hide it and just like kind of,
Again, honestly, way more romantic. I think that being in Vegas is way more romantic than being on DraftKings on your phone and ruining your future that way. I mean, that they really are just ruining everything. There's really...
I know. I mean, so are you a big sports fan? Do you think that gambling is going to like ruin professional sports? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm a huge sports fan. I mean, I was a basketball journalist in the beginning. I was traveling the world playing basketball and writing about it.
Yes. I remember.
And now I don't write about it so much anymore. And I truly only follow English Premier League. I'm actually missing Liverpool right now for this, which is why I wanted to move it, but that's okay. To be responsible. I get so emotional watching Liverpool. I've never bet on a Liverpool game, and I never will because I feel like that would sully it for me. I feel like it's dirty. And the emotional consequences of just loving this team is way more than enough for me. I would never need to bet on it. And I love playing sports. I mean, I really, I mean, when I was writing about sports, I was just like, I was trying to make sports into this metaphor for life, that everything can be explained through sports. And I still believe that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's that much different now with talking about it with betting. I mean, that's definitely part of it. But yeah, I the only other thing I did outside of watching sports was I played fantasy football for a couple of seasons. People asked me to join. I joined. And I didn't like what that did to the game either. When
Mm-hmm.
you start paying attention to meaningless things, things that aren't romantic, things that aren't emotional. And yeah, you might know the stats and some obscure kickers' names and there, but it really misses the whole point of sports to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And all of my friends who are diehard sports fans never bet on their team. And I mean, it's kind of weird how I like fell into fandom because I think it was like fueled by gambling. It was fueled by the risk there.
Mhm.
That kind of was able that like locked me in. And I think since then I have come to like fall in love with players and the story and the franchise's history and all of this sort of stuff. And I agree that like betting on, like obscure things to happen or like specific plays to occur, all of that kind of stuff is lame. And I really do just sort of like bet with my heart. I mean, which gets me in trouble.
Not a recipe for success.
Yeah. But I mean, but and like I do bet on the teams I love, really. That's I mean, sometimes I'll like so it's a weird fusion of these things that's kind of uncommon, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Liverpool wins against Karabakh right now, and I got a bonus $1,000 for it, I mean that would sounds awesome. That would be incredible. But if I lose $1,000 and they lose to this shitty fucking Champions League team, when Liverpool loses, it already ruins my day. I literally it fucks up my whole mood for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
So adding money to that, which I also have a very complicated relationship with money. I don't much care for it. Like I have some, and it's fun to have sometimes, but then I really fucking despise it, and I don't like it governing my decisions about the world and how I want to be in it.
Yeah.
So adding more money, adding a more complicated relationship to it, just it doesn't appeal to me in the least. And the people who do love this kind of stuff, who do love playing with money like this, you have this one line that I thought was great in Harper's where you describe these guys in Vegas as fratty flagrant sorts often on the verge of an apparent breakdown. Is just like you're right, like these red faced, just most American looking people in the world to me. And I hate them. It's so hard for me to find value in those people.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I agree. And, yeah, and like when the Bills lost to the Broncos and I lost $450, it was like that was like the first time. I mean, this season is the first time I've followed a team the entire season, not just like, logged on for the playoffs. And so I was like, it was really devastating to have that 1-2 punch. And I'm sort of like hoping that now that I like deeply love the Bills and have a team and understand the allure of sports in a new way, I can sort of just like slowly extricate myself from the sports betting aspect of it because I do have this emotional connection that is very powerful.
I think the direction you're heading in is unusual. It's usually
Yeah.
the opposite. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I know it is a very unusual direction. And so I'm kind of unsure of what's going to happen next. But yeah, I mean, and I think I was kind of like, I was always very skeptical of sports. Part of the reason I never got into sports is because of like the classic jock archetype and like the jocks at my high school and college and the frat guys who were just like total assholes. And I was just sort of turned off by that. And I mean, you're right that part of the problem with sports betting is that it sort of like inflates the egos of these assholes because they kind of think, I mean, there's a lot of these guys who like do it as a job and it's like their career and they're fucking like, they sort of conceive of themselves as these like geniuses because they are like making, you know, lucky bets or they like know just enough statistics or whatever to win some money every now and again. And then like the flip side of that, when they lose, they just become like the most insufferable people. I was at this insane, there's this new casino in Vegas called Circa, which is built explicitly around the sports bettor. It's like the first like sports bettor first casino in Vegas. And I talk about in the piece going to Circa Swim, which is like this insane Sunday bacchanal where like, I don't even know, 2,000 just like, you know, red overweight guys gather in front of these like massive screens outdoors at like cabanas and pools and just get super fucked up and watch their teams play and bet a bunch of money with like bottle girls and, you know, dubstep music in the background. Like it's a pretty
Sounds like hell.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad time. But like, you know, I mean, this is like a sort of this is an emerge. I mean, obviously these guys have been around for a while, but they are starting to. I mean, you know, they are starting to sort of like capture the sport in a new way. I think because of like the sports gambling culture. Like there was a time where athletes defined the culture, and you know, pundits were generally like, you know, former players or sports journalists who like had interesting things to say. I mean, you know more about this than I do, but it just feels like now there's all these fucking like things are turning frattier. Everybody's talking about the lines. Everyone's making their picks. And there's kind of like this hustle culture that's been injected into it because there's like always this possibility of making money.
Yeah, it feels very different now than it did before. And I also think that that's why people are turning to politics as entertainment because sports aren't as good anymore. And it's just flattened out entertainment in general. So it's all about being right, which is the same thing as winning for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it does sully the whole experience. I mean, I am such a big sports defender from all these snooty intellectuals who look down on it. I think it's one of the greatest things we have going. When I think about the few silver linings that imperialism ever did was bring sports around the world. But now it's just folding in on itself and everything is just gambling now. Everything is gambling. So it's not just sports anymore. I sent you that there's a poly market bet on what that attacker sprayed on Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
And there's just something so disgusting about it to me. And I think we all know that. I think what's so bizarre to me about the culture and philosophy of gambling is it's all rigged. It's always been rigged. It has to be, mathematically speaking.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yet we still partake in it. And I wonder if that's a distinctly American feature. I mean, I know everyone gambles everywhere. When I was in Japan, Jesus Christ, the amount of pachinko places that there were was crazy. And I went into them and they're all like Neon Genesis Evangelion pachinkos. And I was just watching people play and I was like, I have no fucking idea what's going on. I literally, and I don't want to know. Every time I've been in a casino, I was in Maine and I went to some Indian reservation and they had the video game slots. And I was just wandering, looking at them, being like, I don't understand the rules of this game. I don't get it. Even though I guess it's as simple as just like lining it up in a certain way. But the speed at which people were playing it and the noise, it was so overwhelming and so gross to me. I was just like, I didn't put $1 down on anything. Did Harper's give you money to play, by the way?
They will hopefully be giving me $500. They gave me a $500 budget, but I ended up gambling like more than 1,000. So
sounds like a problem, buddy. Burgeoning problem, especially your family history here. It is such a funny addiction. And in your story, you talk about how the opioid crisis has a similar trajectory that sports gambling does.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think one of the addiction experts I spoke to compared them, and I think there's striking similarities, namely that both opioids and gambling are just being so heavily marketed right now, just billions and billions of dollars towards advertisements, putting these things forth as a panacea for happiness and pain relief and all the rest. And so, and really no like mitigating public health efforts whatsoever. So just the rapid escalation of use in both cases is very troubling. And there's an invisibility to both sports gambling and opiates as well. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're shooting heroin, that's easier to notice. But if you're just popping some pills and lying to get a prescription, like you can keep that up for a while. Similarly, if you're just on your app, I mean, there was some interesting testimonials in New York Magazine a couple of months ago of just like girlfriends who thought they were in these like healthy relationships, and then their boyfriends, realized they're $120,000 in debt.
Or they steal their girlfriend's money. I've seen so much of that happening too.
Yeah. They steal their girlfriend's money. They take out, payday loans, like all of this shit. So, I mean, and if you look in England, where sports gambling was legalized in, I think, 2007 or so, young men right now are sort of like in real crisis.
Why do men like it over women, you think? It's very heavily male.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the like conventional wisdom is that men are more thrill seeking than women, and they sort of like get, they engage in riskier behavior and all of that sort of stuff. But I mean, I spoke to a number of female sports gamblers for the story. I think one of them made it into the final piece, and she was like, look, like, sports gambling just gives my life meaning. Like, it just gives meaning to a game. Like, it gives more meaning to it. It ups the stakes. And I think if you're sort of in a place where I think a lot of people feel really helpless to sort of like influence their own fate, their own future. Like I was saying earlier, everything feels rigged. And so when there's like this small little world where you can kind of like in a snap either like win money, like there really is no other avenue in theory where you can kind of change your life so quickly.
Just stop eating avocado toast. That's how you change your life. That's how you become a multimillionaire.
That's a fair point.
I mean, yeah, I think because women are becoming the breadwinners in America, and maybe because they're not so far away from a different relationship to money, they're not interested in wasting it the same way that men are.
Yeah.
I do think about this. That's why I always, some people when they make fun of someone for losing their life savings because they invested in dog fart coin or something like that. And it is stupid, but I still have sympathy for them. A lot of people just shrug their shoulders and are just like, they're an idiot for doing that. I'm like, yeah, I know, but they were basically, there's no other way out for them. Like they must feel stuck in this lot they have in their life. And then they're presented with like, yes, this like infinitesimal chance to transcend it. A lot of people are going to take that. And I think that that's obviously by design, just absolutely taking advantage of people's desperation in America, because the America that was maybe once meritocratic, maybe a little bit meritocratic, that's gone. That's gone. And so this is what people are left with. And so I understand why they do it. We have a economy of Hail Marys.
I think that's very well put. I mean, these dynamics are only accelerating now with the rise of these predictive news and world event markets like Kalshi and Polymarket. There's kind of like this dark future ahead where you and I can basically bet on certain things to happen that materially will destroy our country, deeply damage our own lives. And yet, nonetheless, if we sort of like correctly predict those circumstances to happen, we can like make good money on it. It's like that's like the sort of only hope you can get is dark forces are clouding our world. Like at least we should have the ability to like make a bit of change off it, like
Yeah. 1 million people got burnt to a crisp by a nuclear attack in Iran, but I made $500.
yeah. Yeah.
Silver linings.
Yeah.
And would you even like? My feeling is, would you even want that money? It's basically blood money.
Yeah. I mean, there was after my second or third night on the Strip, I ended at the Trump Hotel. And this scene also got excised from the piece, but this was like 5 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And of course, like every TV and the bar is playing the Fox News Charlie Kirk memorial. I had actually been in Utah, like 10 miles away from where Kirk was killed for another story. And so Kirk was like kind of on my mind. And I was kind of like, well, there probably will just come a time when, you can bet on like the next political figure who's going to be assassinated. And then I was like waiting for a cab home. And there was like this guy vaping weed with like a weird like t-shirt on with a bunch of like kind of like LSD patterns, who looked exactly like Vladimir Putin. I swear to God, I took a photo of him and I was like, this is a sign that I should like vote, or I should like make a like predictive market bet on the war in Ukraine. Cause like I've seen this guy at the Trump Hotel who kind of looks, who really is a spitting image of Putin. And then I got in my cab and the cab driver was telling me about all of the hot blackjack dealers, the hot Ukrainian blackjack dealers at Binion's. And I was like, okay, second like sign from God that like I should bet on the war in Ukraine. And so then I like made some Kalshi bet that there would be peace in Eastern Europe, and I was mistaken.
Yeah. I think it is a culture of annihilation because there has to be a loser. I think that it really engenders this hyper individualization in all of our minds because we can't all win. And as long as people see the world through this lens, I can't imagine it's going to be a good world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, any sort of like hierarchy, any sort of social or economic stratum relies on, the poor saps at the bottom who you just like are desperately like running away from and trying to sort of outmaneuver. And I mean, and there's a huge stigma for gambling addicts. It's like worse, I would argue, than most other addictions because there's just an assumption that yes, they're a loser, that like if they were going to invest all this time in gambling, like at least fucking figure it out and make some money, because that does happen. The fact that there are like professional gamblers, there aren't professional alcoholics. And so when there is like this idealized version of someone who can actually like make money on it, then I think like, there's even more judgment for the poor bastards who just like lose it all.
Yeah, at least when you smoke crack, you do get a couple minutes where it's fucking awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, even like losing, I don't know. I think there's also just kind of because of there's just kind of like a cultural deadening and just a lot of sort of latent sadness, or just sort of like latent, or just sort of like the idea, the feeling of being stuck. Even the rush of a loss is like, at least it's, just kind of like enlivening in some way. There is something I feel like even when I lose that's
really okay.
That is like it's invigorating, I think.
I think I got turned off from gambling at a very young age in elementary school. When we had our pep rallies, they would always do like these little raffles. And I would never win. And I remember the anticipation and also my very pessimistic feelings towards it, where I was like, I'm never going to win, but also like, maybe I will. And I remember I hated that feeling so much. I dreaded it, that maybe that turned me off from a very young age. I just didn't like the whole rigmarole. It just doesn't tickle me.
Do you consider yourself a lucky person?
Yeah, extremely. I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and maybe that's also I'm a very superstitious person as well. I hate I think that when you lie about certain things, they come true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why I'll never pretend to be sick because I'm like, "Oh, if I say I have, like, diarrhea to get out of this thing, I'm gonna get diarrhea." I truly believe that. I think that when you say it out loud, you make it real.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I might be, like, perfectly I feel like I have all of the ingredients for a great gambler. I feel I'm very lucky, very superstitious, but I just won't go through with it. And when I have played, especially with my friends, I'll play poker and I'll take their money and then I'll give them their money back. I really don't like the idea that I've taken my friend's money. The one time I did walk away with money from a poker place was the old dog track in town, and they had a $2 table, $2 bets, and I smoked everyone on the table, but 3 of the people at the table were these old people with oxygen masks. And I just, like, walked away with, like, 20 bucks being like, "God, I feel like a piece of shit. This is not I don't feel good about this at all." I didn't give them their money back, but I still just didn't feel good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing about these predictive markets is that, in normal table games and sports gambling, you are seeking the house's money, like the big evil corporation. Like if you win, the house pays you your money. But in these new predictive markets, how it works is that other people are basically like funneling their cash into a marketplace that is then like dictating the odds. And if you win, you're just taking other people's money.
And the house gets a sweet cut of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's even less risk that the house has to take with this new form, and that's why they're so eager for it. Like all of the big sports gambling companies are buying these predictive companies and fighting like hell against the regulators who are trying to classify them as like bona fide gambling sites, which seems like it'll be successful just because the Trump administration is so in bed with all of these firms.
Yeah, they're so crazy. I'm also appalled by the amount of celebrity endorsements, both for all the sports betting places, but also the supposed truth sayers who are taking Kalshi and Polymarket money. I don't know if you saw Tim Dillon doing a Kalshi pitch. Yeah, fuck Tim Dillon. Fuck that guy. I can't believe people fall for it and think that he's on anyone's side but his own.
Yeah.
But he's funny. He's funny, guys.
Is
Sure.
he funny? I've honestly
No, I don't
yeah.
think so. I don't find him funny either.
Yeah.
He'll go on an occasionally decent rant, but he's a guy who made his bones on Epstein stuff, and then he goes and turns around and works with Epstein people. You can tell that guy's got a strong moral backbone. But I remember it used to be back in the day that the only people who would do celebrities who would do endorsements were either like C-list celebrities or they would be like Arnold Schwarzenegger over in Japan. Because it was a shameful thing to do. It was very shameful to endorse these things if you were a serious person, serious artist. Not that Kevin Hart was ever a serious artist, but does this guy need more money? I mean, how much more fucking money does Kevin Hart need?
No, it's he should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, no, Cat Williams, I think has him fucking pinned, but yeah, I'm shocked by the amount of these endorsements that these people have. What does LeBron need more money? Why do you need to fucking shill for these things? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is that, like, yeah, there's now all of these retired athletes that have inked deals. Rob Gronkowski, is the FanDuel spokesperson. I mean, Tom Brady and everybody else is making weekly picks. sponsored by various sports books. And like it's also just it's baffling to me that there isn't any like solidarity or pushback or advocacy from athletes, active and retired, to be like, sports gambling is really complicating what we love. It's leading to, crooked calls. It's leading to fellow teammates falling into addiction. It's leading to like intense harassment against athletes,
Mhm.
among bettors. And like I think that's going to keep escalating. Like I would not be surprised if within the next 10 years, some fucking wacko who lost his house on a Lakers bet like goes fucking to LA and gets violent. I mean,
Mhm.
this is like these are people's lives that are getting ruined, and I think it's just gonna like it's really going to it's gonna intensely toxify sports, and just make everything like really divisive and ugly.
Yeah, I don't see a way out of this besides just making it completely illegal, a total prohibition on gambling, which honestly, that's fine. Hey, listen, if you have to go underground and find some fucking bookie and risk getting their thumbs chopped off, that sounds way better, also way more romantic than being able to download something and just punch your fucking credit card in there and ruin your life.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, if I had my way, I would outlaw it to be sure, even though I, you know,
Love
enjoy
doing
it.
it. Well, it sounds like you're transitioning out of it and you'll just be a tried and true sports fan.
Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine over here. Don't worry about it. Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl?
Oh man, I used to be a Pats fan, uh, because of my best friend was a Pats fan, and so it was just fun to watch it with him. I remember we met in college. It was 2007, and we watched the Giants Patriots Super Bowl with a helmet catch, and he was so distraught that he literally just like left and walked away into the woods and no one saw him for like 2 days. And it's funny that I would see that and I would think to myself, I want that. I want to know what that feels like to care about something so much. And so I became a Pats fan and I have some great memories being a Pats fan. I remember being at an Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl party and I was wearing a Vince Wilfork jersey and, everybody was dogging on me that first half, being like, "Oh," because it was about like 27-0 or something like that. And then to come back and win, and I couldn't stop smiling. I was just cheesing so fucking hard. So there are those incredible moments. I mean, I love underdogs, which I guess the Patriots weren't really an underdog, whatever. So to answer your question, who's going to win? I don't really care. I like watching it. I just hope it's a fun game. I hope it's close, and I hope that there are just some really cool moments. But all I care about is Liverpool. That's really it. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to care about anything else other than Liverpool anymore. That's it.
Yeah. Are they doing well this season?
No, it's really bad this season. We're not terrible, but we're really not good, and it's very frustrating. I don't know. On my bucket list of things to do before I die is go see Liverpool play at Anfield. Hopefully one day, and I will never bet on Liverpool. Never.
I respect that.
Jasper, where can people find your work?
The best place is just to follow me on Twitter, which my handle is my name, Jasper_Craven, Craven.
Yeah, make sure to pick up the latest Harper's issue with Jasper's piece in it. You've also got some fun military scoops that I would recommend people check out. And you and I will be working on something fun soon. I've mentioned to people about the coffee company thing, and Jasper's jumping on, and we're gonna make it a whole thing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I know I owe you some ideas, but
You don't owe me shit. Once I make this fucking video, you can be in my debt. But until then, it's on me right now.
all right, sounds good.